YouTube? Welcome to Shawn and Maya in the morning on this Hump Day edition. Man, I am fired the freak up, baby. It is back. It is back, and I'm fired up. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm your boy, the Superback, Shawn Sierra. And if you're wondering why I'm so fired up, let me tell you, in case you don't know, and if you don't know, now you know, baseball is freaking back. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Now, listen, if you're watching this on Facebook Live or my watch party, well, then I guess you found us on Facebook. Now you can also tweet the show. You can tweet us at SM_mornings or at SportsZone Chi, at SportsZone Chi, the CHI, at SportsZone Chi. Now, if you want to follow me, just me, personally online, want to know what I did? Let me tell you what I did. Want to know what I did? Here's what I did. I made it nice and easy for you folks. Nice and easy. One handle for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, the Snapper. All one handle at the Shawn Sierra. And oh, yeah, she's waiting in the wings. You know how we do. She's coming out. The lovely, the unbelievably intelligent, the charismatic, my co-pilot in this insanity, the one, the only, Maya Akai. What up, Maya?
Hold up. Wait a minute, player. Hold up, player. Why is it unbelievably intelligent? That shouldn't be unbelievable. That's a proven fact.
No,
I have the IQ to prove it.
That's why it's unbelievable. Someone as smart as you shouldn't be.
Okay. See, now this is okay. Me too. Hello. Me too can be intelligent. Don't minimize my intelligence because I happen to be of the superior species, gender.
Yeah, but you're the whole package. Like, you're beautiful.
Okay, again, you should stop. You should stop.
You're like, damn,
foot in mouth.
She's
foot
like
in mouth on Wednesday. Foot in mouth on Wednesday.
No, come on, no.
You can be beautiful and still be talented. You can be intelligent. You can be all those things.
Thank you. That's what you are. And that's what you be. That's what you is.
Stop being exclusionary. That like beautiful women are only limited to being beautiful. See, this is where the world has come to.
There's some that are, and you're not one of them. You're the total package. You're the total package. A small little fiery package, but a total package nonetheless.
Anyways, we got a lot going on in the show today, and we got stuff to talk about. So let's get to it. Oh, that's right. I'm posting how you can find me. I made it real easy. If you look on the screen right there, you will see you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter at the Sports Chica. And if you happen to be an Instagrammer, you can find me at Maya_Kai. There you go.
Yeah, you got a new one. You be on.
No, it's been that. I mean, I changed it within the last month because I'm using it for multiple things. Good morning, Armando. How are you?
Already?
Someone said hello. I said hello back. See, that's the cool thing about if people comment on Facebook, we can share it during the show, like right there on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there you go. Oh, everyone's like, good morning, Maya.
Oh, no, that's not. No, good morning, Maya. The hell with Shawn. Good morning, Maya. The hell with Shawn.
That's right, because she was like, hear her roar. That's right. Who run the world? Girls. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Armando made you feel better. How about that?
Thanks, Junior, you son of a biscuit.
All right, come on, let's go. We got stuff to talk about.
We have a great show for you guys, but we need you to get interactive with us today. So as Maya said, do us a favor. Just leave a question or comment. If you're watching this on Facebook Live, leave a question or comment right there. You can also text us if you're listening to us from the app. Oh, the app. We need you to download the app, guys. Make sure you download the app because we are an app-centric station. All right, there's so many things you can do from the app. You can text us from the app. You can call us from the app. And if you text us, it'll come right up to our screen. And we definitely want you to do that so we can incorporate that in the show. Now, when I said we got a great show for you, I was not bullsiving at 9:30. Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago Bears writer. We're going to talk a little Bears football, baby, with him. The season is drawing closer. We have a lot of questions for him about the Bears. What does he feel? The Bears record. How does he feel the Bears are going to do this year with a more seemingly motivated Khalil Mack, with a new premier pass rusher on the opposite side, with the quarterback controversy? There's a lot to ask Cam Ellis at 9:30. Then at 10 o'clock, good friend of ours, good friend of the program, Scott Merkitt from MLB.com. He's a White Sox beat writer. Been doing that for the last 18 years. Maya always gives him the side eye because he's University of Michigan grad, but you know what? We'll keep that Big Ten rivalry.
His redeeming quality is because he's a White Sox guy. That's his redeeming quality.
Yeah.
Right there.
Okay. So. Okay. That's cool. Well, guess what? Baseball is back, baby, and we're going to talk to Scott. How good are the White Sox chances to win the World Series? Didn't Bob Nightingale say we're going to win the World Series?
No, he did not. And stop putting words in Bob's mouth. He said,
I'm just saying, that's what I was asking.
They can be playoff contenders is what he said.
I was just trying to confirm. I thought
he didn't say
said that.
I got you, Bob. I got you.
Okay.
Anyway.
Big Pimpin' Bob, boy. He looked good too. He shaved
Yeah,
off.
I had to say this. Quarantine is doing good for Bob. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, wow, look at Bob with all the gray going
Like,
on.
how you doing? I heard how you doing?
Like, where you be? Arizona? No, just kidding. Anyways, Bob Nightingale. Gotta love him. Gotta love him.
Oh, he is. So that's our lineup. Maybe not Cam Ellis talking Bears 9:30. Scott Merkin talking White Sox baseball with us right here at 10 o'clock. Well, guys, you know how we do. The first segment of every show is called Top of the Morning to you, and these are the hot topics of the night before, just some sports in general. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, we don't even have to. You know where we're going. Hey, you know what? They sent a fax yesterday. They said, "I'm back." Oh no, that was Michael. I said, "We're back. Baseball is back." The Major League Baseball Players Association agrees to a 60-game season. It is back, Maya. We're going to start July 1st. It's going to be the start of spring training, or the spring training, whatever. July 23rd, 24th is going to be approximate opening day. Seasons are going to go through September 27th. The same 10-team format for the playoff structure is in place. Your thoughts now that we have baseball back, baby?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm really, really excited that baseball's back. I've been waiting. I was waiting for opening day. And obviously everything. There was this small kind of hiccup called COVID-19 that changed how a lot of things were going on. So I'm excited. I want to say, isn't the schedule released? There's like 10 games against division rivals.
Yep.
And then that outside of that, they play, what is it? The Cubs, of course. I think there's 4 games there.
Yeah, so it's 10 games against your division opponents, and then your interleague teams you play 4 times each. So it'll be a 4 crosstown classics with that other team.
What makes sense. I mean, it's like, hey, keep it in Chicago because, it's a little safer at the moment. We're doing well in regards to our reopening program. We're doing well. So, it's not a full season, which means I subscribe to what Bob Nightingale say. Anything can happen because it's not a full season. There was the sentiment, and I don't think it's just me saying that because I'm a White Sox fan, because I'm a baseball enthusiast. I watch all kind of baseball all year. It's not just the White Sox I watch. That this is that season that something different can happen. Shorter season. So what's going to be interesting is how teams come out the gate. That kind of warm-up period is really over if you think about it. It's like you got to come out hot, ready to play. There's not going to be that, that kind of April, May where you can kind of warm up, you win, you lose, you win, you lose. Every single game counts. This is what's going to make this season so interesting, is that every time you play a game, you want to put a W in the win column, because if you hit a losing streak, let's be honest, you could be out of playoff contention, could we say easily, within a quarter of your games being played.
15 games, you out. You start 5-10. You better win the next 30, because otherwise you're done.
Right. So when you say that, it's not steady as a pace. This is clearly a true incidence of wire to wire from beginning to the end. You need to play at a high level. There is no warm up. So it'll be interesting to talk with Scott to see how he feels the White Sox are prepared, because there's a lot of youth in there. We have a pitching rotation that there's high expectations, and I got interesting questions for him. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
Well, that's our first top of the morning topic. Major League Baseball is back, and I'll tell you what, Maya. Here's a perfect thing for. I know we said you always want to start off good. But here's a perfect situation. Ozzie, and this is why I love Ozzie Guillen. And he said this back in 2005 when the White Sox won the World Series, the first team in Chicago to win the World Series in our lifetime. Thank you very much. And he just talked about not having a long winning streak. He said, you know what? He goes, you don't need to go on a 10, 15, 20-game winning streak. And this is the perfect scenario for this 60-game schedule. If you win series, you take 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3. Guess what? In this shortened series, that adds up very, very quickly. If you win 2 out of 3, that's 40 wins. That's 40 wins. And I'll tell you, I can guarantee that's almost going to get you to the top of the standings. So you just have to play each series, every single game, focus on that one, win the series, win each game to win the series. And guess what? You win a majority of your series, you're going to be competing for a playoff spot, if not the division title. With that type of record, so I'm looking forward to it. There's a couple things. So there's going to be a DH, a universal DH. So the National League is going to have a DH. So the Cubs are going to be very happy with Kyle Schwarber in that spot, so he doesn't have to say doo-doo-doo in left field. So you can put that there. Extra innings is another interesting one, though, Maya. You're going to start with a man on second base.
I don't like it. I feel like that's what you do when you're a remedial league.
Thank you.
I don't feel you're the pros, so I don't think that you should get a kind of an extra little buffer just to end the game quicker, because that's what that means to me. You're attempting to end the game quicker. So if you put a man on second, if you can get that guy to score, okay, that might means these, because we know baseball innings, extra innings can go on. They can go on for a bit. So I don't like that, because I feel like, come on, this is the pros. If you win, you win. So
Yeah,
I don't particularly care for it.
I'm not sure of the exact reason for that. I know. I know they want to get the games over, but I mean, I'm
That's
not.
that's the only reason I can come up with.
I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, not a big fan.
So the trade deadline is August 31st, which gives you 27 days since the season is going to end, September 27th. Talk about rentals. You're going to get a guy not even for a month. Okay, and this is where the strategy comes into play. Let's think about it, Maya. What if you're a team that you're kind of on the border? Okay, or say you start off good and then you kind of slow down just a little bit. Do you make a blockbuster deal for a rental? Because at this particular stage of the game, due to what's going on, anybody's got a shot. I mean, even the lowly Marlins have a shot. Even the horrible teams have a shot, because if you come out strong, okay, and there's going to be probably an ebb and maybe a flow and then an ebb. If there's an ebb and you want to say, hey, let me pick up a DH, let me pick up a guy in the last year of his contract, you might be able to that could be the a tipping point for a particular team, and have some obscure team win the World Series, one that didn't even think was even in the playoff run.
This could be true. That's going to change the complexion altogether of teams that are, let's say, making a run for it, that are maybe missing something or just want to make sure, hey, we are in stride. If we add that extra pitcher into the rotation, now obviously we can increase our chances of really being in the World Series. And also at the same time, what'll be interesting is, because some players will be like, I'm not going to play in that city. You know what I mean? That might change their mindset if, like, let's say you have a team like the White Sox that come out the gates. I mean, they're a young team that even across MLB are spoken about in a very high regard and expectations for what they've achieved, especially with adding in the veteran pieces that were supposed to be part of this season to start with. So now you may have other veterans, because it's not so much that they need any more green players. They legitimately need some veterans. This might be where there might be a step up to get maybe another veteran arm, so to speak, because I kind of feel in other positions in regards to fielding, infield, that's pretty much set. Pitching is the one area where you feel like there could still be a slight improvement, so to speak. So you might get a veteran pitcher will be like, all of a sudden Chicago's not looking so bad. One, they've fared well with COVID-19, but hold up, they're actually playing really well, especially if they're in contention for anything. So all of a sudden it will make other destination cities that maybe weren't top notch or teams seem more lucrative and interesting to potential, players to bring in.
It's going to be fun. So we talked about the trade deadline, August 31st. The rosters are going to be 30 players for 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, it'll be cut down to 28. For 2 weeks, and after that 2 weeks, it'll be 26, and it'll be for the rest of the season. There's also going to be a special COVID-19 injury list, and on that injury list, there's no minimum or maximum length of time on it, because usually they have a 10-day DL and the a 60-day stint. However, the 60-day stint is going to be reduced to 45. So their testing is going to be every other day for players. And another thing for pitchers, okay, what they want to do is stop having pitchers lick their fingers, to kind of get a better grip on their hands. So that what they're going to do is pitchers will be allowed to have a wet rag in their pocket, just to kind of avoid.
Okay. Part of the issue is it's a habit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're asking people to break a habit that they've been doing for their probably entire pitching career. So I understand you're trying to create ways to avoid the spread of COVID, but it's just not going to be that easy. Because I'll be honest, he can walk right off the mound, go sit down, have a conversation with somebody who had it. And let's be honest, they're not going to be always sitting 6 feet apart from each other, because it's a game. It's interactive. So let's just be honest. The best case scenario is just nobody gets it. It's all you can do is cross your fingers. Because I don't care how many precautions you put in place, legitimately, there's still the chance that somebody is going to contract it one way or the other. And if they bring it to the clubhouse, guess what? It's going to probably spread to 1 or 2 more people, because it's a shared space. So right. I understand, but it's just not going to be that simple.
Well, the next top of the morning topic, the FBI has determined that Bubba Wallace was not a victim of a hate crime the other day down in Talladega. They're saying after their investigation, they said the rope had been there since 2018. Your thoughts, Maya?
Okay, well, the fake Bureau of Investigations has never really done well when it came to investigating racial incidents throughout this country. Historically, their record is really poor. Let me just say that. So them telling me that, I'm like, so it's been there since 2018 and everybody just happened to miss it. It was on top of the rafter or something. And all of a sudden it just dropped down. Okay, don't buy it. I'm trying to figure out how they even came up with that type of time frame. Here's what I will say, though. I did not think it would be found as a hate crime because technically no crime was committed. Trespassing is the biggest crime that was committed. It was heinous. It was unacceptable. Clearly, it was more than a micro. It was a macro assault, is what that is. There's microaggressions, there's macroaggressions, and there's macro assaults, and that's exactly what that was. It was sending a message. So here's the thing, whether it was there from 2018, which means somebody clearly had it on their mind for a minute. Seriously. So that's the case. It's like, oh, wow, this thought's been there for a minute. And maybe it is possible, but I never felt there was a crime because there was no action. Trespassing would probably be the biggest thing, unless somebody within his own camp put it up there, then it's not trespassing, but it is a macro assault is what it is. It's racist. It's wrong, but there is no crime.
No,
I mean, beyond trespassing. I mean, I know people like, Maya, how can you say that? Because I'm just being honest. In the scope of the law,
there's nothing wrong. No law was broken.
It was. I mean, now in the scope,
technically speaking, there's no law broken.
Yeah. Technically, yes, unless it's trespassing, someone who shouldn't have been in the garage. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that piece, which we may or may never be able to prove, that the action itself is what we're focusing on, which tells us. Okay, here's a question: did you think there were issues with racism in NASCAR?
No, Maya, come on.
I mean, I didn't. This is news to me. See, everything is in a shift right now because 2015 is when NASCAR actually banned the Confederate flag. But the problem was trying to get people to comply with it. So it was a soft movement. So hence nothing would happen until recently. All of a sudden now they just went back and said, excuse me, you can't do that anymore. And now we're going to actually enforce the law. Because guess what? Advertisers and others are like, well, we're pulling out a NASCAR if this kind of behavior is still going to be allowed to happen. So the rule for NASCAR was already on the books well before they decided to truly enforce it, which again, does that tell you anything about how disingenuous the action really is?
It's like a soft opening for a club. Not a lot of people really paid attention to it.
And all of a sudden, you get a picture of somebody in the VIP drinking, and it's the hottest spot in the city. Exactly. Yep. And this is what we're seeing with a lot of organizations. They are being forced into changing how they do business. It doesn't mean they are being forced into changing their mindset. So hence, NASCAR, I'm going to say this, will always have that history of being just, unfortunately, the good old boys. Unfortunately, it has a racist reputation. They're going to have to work really hard to change, and you can go get Richard Petty if you want. I don't know Richard Petty, so I can't tell you where his heart, emotion, and intentions are. I think it's great he supported, Bubba Wallace, but beyond that, was he asked to do it? There's a lot of damage control going on right now.
In that sport, yes. And
sports in general, lots of damage control.
Particularly in that one, because think of all the sponsors. I mean, for them, you and I both know, and if you don't know, now you know. It's cash. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Okay, so when you follow the money, that's exactly where you have to. That's where you have to start. You don't have to look at people's intentions. Okay, why? Where's the money? Are they going to lose money? Okay, well then you know what actions are going to be taken if they're about to lose some money. And then let's keep that real. NASCAR has tons of sponsorships, from the actual drivers. You see all the stickers and the decals on the cars, to the actual sport itself. There's millions and millions, probably even billions of dollars in NASCAR sponsorship. And when you start losing that, all of a sudden people who are the beneficiaries of all that money, they're going to make a change.
Okay, I can't resist this because this has not been said in a long time. Go get your chicken. It hasn't been said in a while. But
they got to protect the chicken. That's right. That's what it is.
NASCAR is protecting the chicken. Oh God, Marshawn Lynch.
Hey, great job.
I will always love you. Good looking out, Armando. I will always love him for that. That's right. Keep that chicken. They frying chicken now in NASCAR. Okay.
Keep your chicken. Get your mentals.
I would love them. ever for that because it was real. It was real talk. So
is
around every sporting event, this sense of all of a sudden we're aware of what was happening, though they were told. It isn't like it's not genuine to me. It's all about the chicken. That's what it comes down to.
That's what it is. Well, the next top of the morning topic, Chicago, baby, is one of the 6 hub cities for the NHL. The NHL is going to have 6 cities for their playoffs. And I think they're going to narrow it down, but Chicago is one of the 6 cities, hub cities that are left. The Chicago, Vegas, LA, Edmonton, Toronto, and Vancouver. But why not? Why wouldn't you have Chicago? We have the infrastructure, we have the restaurants, we have the activity, we have the nightlife, we have everything. Chicago is the best city in the world. How can you leave Chicago off?
I think a lot of it has to do with they took a look around the country to see what cities were faring relatively well with obviously COVID-19. You couldn't eliminate every major city. So to be honest, if you think about it, Vegas and Chicago, I'm like, and Chicago had its fair share of incidents, obviously, of COVID-19, but the way we reopen is really smart. We're not rushing the issue. So here's a memo to Chicagoans. Something good's about to happen here. Don't be wilding out, not doing what you're supposed to do. So then we get a second wave that we're not trying to have. So I think it's good for the NHL. Vegas, good for them. Again, what this does is it can bring you obviously more dollars into the city, help to rebuild the economy, especially for those struggling restaurants and things. So if nothing else, they should be like, hold up, we're doing this, we're doing that. Think about what they can stand to gain from this being a hub city.
Yeah, there's a lot to gain from it. And you know what? It's just we play out hockey in Chicago, okay, with our Blackhawks, but also you can see some other teams as well. And I think that's a pretty cool deal to have, having playoff hockey that's not necessarily just Blackhawks hockey. I think that's a pretty cool deal. And again, we have the infrastructure. Chicago is one of the best cities in the world, especially in the summertime. And now the way the NHL playoffs are going to go, it is going to be the summertime. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling you what, we have everything that they need. So
not what you'd normally be watching in this time of the year. But hey, at this point, people are desperate for some sports. So here, you're going to get it, and you're going to get it in a different way. So go enjoy it. Go to a game if it's even allowed. Go watch it someplace, whatever.
So the next top of the morning topic, this is insane. This will probably take us to the bottom of the hour with our first guest, Cam Ellis. Sierra, Russell Wilson's wife, has filed a petition to change the name of her son with Future to Russell Wilson Jr. I don't know if I'm Future, I am seething right now.
Right.
Like, if you ever wanted to shake the hell out of a woman, you're like, wait a minute. That's
foul as hell. I mean, come on. Now, I can't speak to what kind of.
Here's real quick why she said, because Future has so many different children by different women.
You knew that when you got up in that.
That she did when you let him up in there. You're right. But because he has so many different children, that this particular one is often neglected. And maybe his Future's, doesn't like Russell Wilson. I don't know what the situation is, but the fact is he doesn't spend a lot of time with the child with Sierra.
I don't care. It is a unfortunate outcome of the relationship you chose to have with somebody that you knew he had other children before, and you probably knew about his parenting skills when he had them. So I'm sorry that you don't like the fact that he's not involved. The proper thing is not to petition for the change of the name. The proper thing to do, Sierra, since they're all Christian and shit, now she's making me curse, is that go to Future and say, first of all, you shouldn't name your child Future in the first place. But anyways, but celebrities do that. Apple, Denim, Future, whatever. So with that being said, Dakota's okay. I'm okay with that. But you should go to Future and express your concern to him and say, you're an important part of his life because you're his father. And it doesn't matter that I'm married and I have other children and we have a family. I still want him to know you. So can we arrange some time that he sees you more frequently? I want this relationship to be healthy. Down the road, the kid, when he's old enough to know the difference in parenting, he'll get that probably Russell Wilson is probably, unfortunately, a better father than Future is, but don't try to remove that or change that or make a difference or create animosity. Changing the name doesn't change the situation. You know what I'm saying? And it's the situation that matters here, that he's not being the kind of father you think he should be. So talk to him about it and figure out. Now, here's the thing. If you talk to him about it and he chooses not to change his ways for whatever his reason is, then here's the thing. The child still has a positive male role model in his life as a stepfather. Because my thing is, you shouldn't be asking him then to change the name. You should be asking if he can legally adopt him at that point to see if he's offended by that. And then at that point, if he says that Russell can legally adopt him, then you can look at a name change. And it's not that that hasn't happened before. There have been people that have had remarried and their child has no real relationship with a biological father. Now, mind you, this is different because these are celebrities we're talking about. So we know who Future is. So it's not that that hasn't happened, but put a different option. Changing a name doesn't change the situation, and be like, don't you want to be part of his life? I don't agree with it. I think it's disrespectful, and I don't care what kind of person Future is. He needs to step his game up.
I do too. I think it's trifling. I think it's it's a situation where you need. Here's where adults need to be adults. Here's where you need to figure some shit out. Okay, this is not about you. It's not about your the person who helped you procreate. It's about your child. Okay, and the fact of the matter is like you're putting him through a lot. As you said, when the child gets older, he'll know exactly what place that his biological father has in his life and that Russell Wilson's going to have in his life. And if he's fortunate enough, if Future steps up to the plate, this kid's going to be fortunate to have two good men in his life.
Exactly.
But that's the only thing if Future decides to step up. And you know what? With the fact that he's got other children by other women, that could affect the way Future handles his business. I don't know. It may not affect it. Okay, but the ball's in your court now, Future, and you have to do this. You're gonna have a lot of flying miles. Okay, you're gonna have a lot of flying miles because wherever your kids are located, you're gonna have to make sure that you go there and spend time with them, or you fly them to you to spend time with you. But there's gonna be a lot of money spent. You know what? And I don't envy you in this situation because the love of a child, the love of a man, especially for a boy, is so important at such young ages.
It is.
It's unbelievable. So, again, I think she was wrong. Again, she was trifling for doing that, and maybe I don't know what her intent was, Maya. Was she actually trying to make him step up his game? I don't know. I mean, if that was her old employee.
But my thing is, to do that is still a level of disrespect, and it's not mature. Because at the end of the day, it's the child here that is the most important aspect. And even though I'm assuming the little boy isn't old enough to know that his father is not present in his life the way that it should be, as a responsible adult who should be attempting to co-parent better than this, she failed epically at it. It's just disrespectful. Even when people were poor parents. I mean, it'd be different if he was absolutely absent. She said not spending the time that she feels he should. Okay, I don't disagree with that. But it could be you live over here, he lives over there. Does that affect the kind of time he can spend? Because I think Future might be in Atlanta. She's in Seattle. Okay, let's be honest. That's not going to be an every weekend kind of thing. So the child is with you.
It's not New York, DC, quick.
Right.
What I mean?
It's not like you can just all of a sudden just see their child on the weekend because now you've got distance. So to me, there are variables, but now you could always bridge that gap and say, I understand we're distant, so let's do a couple of things. Technology, fantastic. So let's maybe do FaceTiming, at least once or twice
every day. If I'm Future, I'm saying, no. We're FaceTiming every day, a couple times a day. This is my son.
Even if it's a couple times a week, I'm okay with that. Hey, bud, what's going on? How was your day at school? Just to be present. And then, you say, okay, he can come stay these longer periods of time. There's ways to work around him being absent. And I don't think it's fair, regardless of what kind of father. And I think there's some underlying personal issues, because there always is when co-parenting goes awry, that somebody isn't being honest about the entire situation for what it is.
I concur. Well, listen, guys, we got to take a quick break. It's our first break of the show. On the other side of the break, we're going to have a new guest right here on Shawn and Maya in the Morning. Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago. We have some Bears conversation to dive into, so don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the Morning on SportsZone Chicago.
It was the lone stall with a pull-down rope that resembled a noose. Blue Emu promises no chill, no burn, no odor, just what you need to soothe tired muscles and joints. The Sports Flash is driven by Gene Truck Sanders, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
Rusty Wallace here for Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief. This pain cream is the official pain cream of NASCAR for a reason. It works fast, and you won't stink. There's no messy, greasy, nasty feel or any stinging or burning here. This is pure pain relief. Don't run your engine on Octane 89. Get the good stuff. And meet me in Victory Lane. Blue Emu works fast, and you won't stink.
Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief, the official pain relief cream of NASCAR.
Hey, say that bee. It's National Pollinator Week.
Did you know pollinators are more than just honeybees? Did you know 1 in 3 bites of food is made possible by pollinators? That's why Prairie View A&M Cooperative Extension is prepping for pollinators this week. Identify your backyard pollinators, take photos, and plant flowers to help them thrive. Visit agnearme.com. That's agnearme.com to download our pollinator prep guide today. Let's get prepping for National Pollinator Week.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning.
National Pollinator Week. That's different. I mean, I know what she's talking about, but that was just a different approach to the fact that we're talking about like bees and some birds that pollinate. That was, they now have a special term called pollinators. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. That's weird.
I mean, because I get it, because there is more than one species that pollinates around flowers and plants.
So when they pollinate, they go and they...
So like bees go in and they pretty much will, you know, the stem of a plant will produce pollen. And what they do is they often eat around the pollen. And when they move to the next plant, they then actually, this is funny, plants are genderless, but they actually do need to have a form of exchange of their own form of organic matter. I don't want to call it DNA because that'd be weird. So when a bee goes from, you know, when a bee is actually spreading the love around is what it is. And birds are spreading the love around.
I answered the question, Maya.
See, I told you I was smart. Goofy. I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. I admit it. I admit it. I'm a nerd. I know about stuff. People are like, why do you know about that? I'm like, weren't you paying attention in biology? Because that's when you learned it.
I just wanted you to explain it because I know what that is, but I just wanted to hear you explain it.
Shut up, Shawn. Shawn got jokes today on Wednesday, I see. Anyways, we have an important guest coming up who really has something important to say.
Hey, guys, we got a first-time guest here on Shawn and Maya in the morning, man. He writes for the Chicago Bears, writer
for NBC Chicago Bears Talk is who he writes for. It is Cam Ellis, as Shawn said, first time on the show. Cam.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
I'm good. I have to apologize. So since it's the first time you're here, then you get to hear like ridiculous banter from me about.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we can talk about bees and plants if you want. I'm fine with that, too.
I mean, I'm going to hope that it's a lot less interesting than what you have to talk about, which is obviously the Bears. And Shawn will be back in a second. So, okay, with all the talk about obviously COVID-19 and starting seasons, we talk about the Bears, and they have a little time in regards to their season starting. So my question would be, where do they stand right now in regards to preparing for their season to start? What's been their approach to this? And then there was Maya. So apparently the bees are trying to take over, and they want the conversation about pollination to continue apparently, because everybody else is like being froze out because the bees it's a mutiny. It's a mutiny, Shawn. I was talking to Cam, ask a question, and then all of a sudden he froze up. There is a mutiny. The bees wanted the pollination talk to happen. I just want you to know that. So like, I'll teach you to try to like quiet. All right.
There he is. Here we go.
Sorry about this, guys. I have no idea what's going on. Hopefully.
Hey, Cam, the same thing happened to me. I don't even know what the hell happened. I was
told you what just happened.
To introduce you, and I'm like, yeah, new guy. And next thing you know, I was like, oh, snap. I had to text my Maya. Cam.
I introduced him. I kept it going. And then,
talking about plants. It was great.
I told you, it's a mutiny. The bees are upset that we stopped the pollination talk. But anyways.
They want their history told.
That's right. You know what? They want equal share and stake in this situation. Okay.
We can talk about the NFL later.
It's not like it's the most popular sport in America or anything. Who cares?
Right.
All right. So I had asked Cam before we had our interruption about obviously a lot of adjustments are having to be made by teams to prepare for seasons. The Bears have a little bit of time before they have to get to that point. What have they been doing to prepare? Obviously, because obviously training camps have been affected, things of that nature. So kind of where are they at with trying to prepare to start the season?
So they've been doing a lot of Zoom calls like everyone else. That's more or less been how they've interacted in an official team function. I know Mitch and Tariq Cohen and Allen Robinson and Cole Kmet were throwing together down. I don't know where exactly they were, but they did some unofficial workouts. But as a team, yeah, they've only really done virtual meetings just because they can't be in the building yet. Things look numbers wise in Illinois look like they're going pretty well. So there's hope that even in a month, things will look better than they look right now. But I think as we've all sort of seen, there's no real way to tell what's going to happen even 2 weeks from now, let alone a month. So I think they're sort of proceeding with caution. There obviously won't be any fans or anyone else at training camp come a month from now, 2 months from now. But right now, I think everything's still on for a late July 21st, July 22nd report date.
What are you seeing and hearing from Mitch? Okay, give me your feel for Mitch. Okay, he's in a situation that he hasn't been in a while. He had the starting job. He still has a starting job, although it is clear and has been made clear, crystal clear, that it is a competition. Give me your thoughts on on what you're feeling, the vibe you get from Mitch in the interview, in his pressers, and then your thought on how the season is going to open up and maybe finish up. Health, I mean, excluding somebody getting injured.
Sure.
Give me your thoughts on how that season is going to play out in the quarterback battle.
So, yeah, I think you're right because Trubisky has never really had competition. I mean, you go back to college, he was a backup, and then the guy in front of him graduated, and he was sort of, I'm sure he had a competition within the camp, but it was sort of his job. This will be the first time that he's really had a competition. He's had to really play for his job in several years. I think he's motivated. I think he's motivated as anyone would be who, loses job security. It's a pretty motivating factor. Ultimately, how much he feels motivated won't really matter if he plays like he did last year, because that's not going to be good enough. I do think he'll play better than he did last year, because you better hope at least. I think he will, just because he seems like someone who, when is pushed, responds. And the NFL is so tricky and so difficult that sometimes that's not even enough. You can respond all you want, and sometimes people are just better than you. That's life in the NFL. But I do think he'll be better. I don't think he's gonna put together a Pro Bowl year and the Bears sign him to a 5-year extension or whatever it may be. I don't think he's gonna be back on the Bears after this season. I think this is probably it. But I do think he'll play better.
So that's interesting, because I feel like the unofficial memo that only went out kind of to everybody in the Bears and not to the public is that there's an expectation, like you just said, that Mitch will not be the quarterback come next year, that they're looking at Foles. And I feel like unless Mitch goes out and plays lights out, it seems like there's a very short leash on him before the Bears will shift and move to Foles altogether.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. He is going. I think the Bears want to give Trubisky the job, because that's the best case scenario, is that Trubisky plays well enough that they figure out, this works and the offense is better. But yeah, he's going to be on a real short leash. I mean, you don't trade for the most infamously talented, relief pitcher in football in league history. You don't guarantee that guy 23 or whatever it is $1 million to come be a backup for a couple of years. Nick Foles is going to get a shot eventually, whether fair or not fair. But I do think the best case scenario is that Trubisky wins the job, because Nick Foles has not started a full season ever in his whole career, and he hasn't played more than double-digit games in half a decade now. So he is no sure bet either. I know Bears fans are kind of starved for consistency at the quarterback position, and it's hard to blame them. But Nick Foles is not the picture of consistency. So I do think that they're going to give Trubisky every opportunity to start the season as QB1. But I think you're right in that he's not going to have much of a leash, if any leash at all.
Guys, we're joined by Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago, talking a little Chicago Bears football right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about Foles, and I give him respect for being what I think is a good game managing quarterback. He's not going to wow you. He's also not going to sacrifice you at the same time. So he strikes that balance for you. So we saw that with the Eagles, obviously, with the minute that Wentz was ready to come back, winning a Super Bowl or not, the Eagles would not commit to Foles. Hence, he went to the Jaguars, which honestly, it was kind of like going into like a football wasteland. So for that time that he was there, I can't say that that was necessarily just him being an underperformer as much as an organization that wasn't set to do anything. So, you know, now he gets a chance to move into an organization with the Bears that you have to feel that it's advantageous that what's currently on this team, if Mitch can't make it happen, there has to be the expectation that Nick can make it happen because he has the ability to manage the game right, read defenses, the one thing that we know that Mitch doesn't do very well. And I don't know he's going to be a quick study on that as it stands, but as well as to be able to deliver the ball and be a lot more accurate, which to me kind of signals Foles not going to wow you, but that's what the Bears should not be and are not looking for at this moment. They just want to win.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, and Nick Foles and Matt Nagy go way back. Nick Foles and Bill Lazor go way back. Nick Foles and John DeFilippo go way back. So there's a lot of support in the staff. There's a lot of familiarity on the Bears coaching staff with Nick Foles. And you're right. I think that Nick Foles is going to do better than he did in Jacksonville, or maybe even the end of his tenure in Philadelphia, because the Bears are a supremely talented team around him. There are still holes that need to be figured out. You know, having no one at right guard that really stands out is going to be an issue. You know, the tackle play is going to be an issue. Getting production out of the running backs is going to be an issue. But this is a pretty talented team still. And I think you're right. They only really need Nick Foles to play about league average. And that's probably going to be good enough to win more games than it did last year, just because they got such terrible production from quarterbacks last year. So I think you hope that Nick Foles is better than league average because they're paying him a lot of money and they traded fourth round pick for him. That's a lot of capital to bring in a guy that you want to sort of hinge this window of Bears talent on. So I think you hope that he plays better, but I do think that, you know, roughly league average stats, a good Nick Foles year is good enough to get them back into the playoffs, you know, a couple rounds deep, whatever it may be.
Well, listen, so we've already talked about Mitch with his workouts with a lot of the receivers. I believe even Cole Kmet was there as well. How has this pandemic really helped Mitch or hurt Mitch? Because now Mitch is actually practicing with these guys they're going to throw to. So Mitch has the advantage in my eyes as far as chemistry with these guys. But Nick Foles, in my eyes, has the advantage because he's won a Super Bowl in this system and he knows it like the back of his hand. He doesn't have that chemistry with these guys. How soon? I mean, who really has the advantage since both of them have a slight advantage? You know, one dude's knowing the system, one with actual chemistry. Who do you think is faring better now that we're not having OTAs, we're not having a lot of the preseason workout, the off-season workouts that they're having? Who fares better?
Yeah, it's a really interesting point because in a normal year, you see Mitch throw with guys and you go, okay, that's good, but you get the guys into camp for a month and off-season informal throwing sessions aren't going to really matter.
I love that.
Looks like we'll get them back. See, it's not. I'm not the only one with crazy internet.
I don't know. It's to me. I mean, it's fair to say coming into this season, the biggest scrutiny is at the quarterback position. I think everybody feels that everything else is good enough to be competitive, to equate into wins, so to speak. So this is like a make or break, obviously year for Mitch. But then the next thing is, okay, say it's Foles. Then the question is that the long-term solution? Are you still drafting and attempting to develop down the road? I mean, because the thing is, I don't want to over or understate the value of what I think Nick Foles has, because I've seen him perform well under pressure and win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting. And I don't hold Jacksonville against him because there was a whole lot of nothing going on in Jacksonville, so to speak.
A whole lot of nothing.
So I don't think that's indicative of where he was.
Oh, we got him back. Yeah. So your thoughts, Cam? Who do you think got that advantage?
Clearly not me. Like I was saying, I I think it's a different argument in a normal year. I do think there is some advantage to what Mitch knows about his guys this offseason, just because Nick Foles is going to have a really short amount of time to figure out sort of the intricacies of how Allen Robinson runs his routes, or how Anthony Miller comes out of breaks, or how Tariq Cohen catches the ball in the backfield. Like there are little things about the offense that go beyond play recognition that I think Mitch Trubisky has a real advantage with. Ultimately, like I said before, if Mitch can know everything about Allen Robinson, if he throws it 10 yards over his head, that's not really going to make much of a difference. Like, it's going to be Nick Foles' job pretty quick. So I do think that there's some favor in Trubisky's corner just because of this sort of truncated offseason and because of the lack of work they've been able to put on the field. But I'm not sure how vital that'll be, 2, 3, 4 weeks in the training camp.
Okay, guys, we're joined by Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago with a little Bears talk right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. Let's talk about that defense. Okay, how, from what I'm reading on your site and other places, Khalil Mack is focused. Khalil Mack has a chip on his shoulder. That is not a very good thing for opposing teams. What are you hearing about Khalil Mack? Because now he has a legitimate pass rushing specialist on the other side of him, and I'm sure they're going to have a couple of meetings. I'd say about 4 or 5 meetings at the quarterback per game. Your thoughts on how a rejuvenated Khalil Mack is really going to help this defense, along with the signing of Robert Quinn?
Yeah, no, it's. I'm sure people are scared to hear that Khalil Mack is, more motivated than he's ever been, and that's a great headline. But I think you're right in that. The big deal is Robert Quinn being on the other side, and that's going to make up for so many deficiencies this team had in pass rushing last year. They were not a particularly good pass rushing team last year, just by the numbers, and all the pass rushing efficiency they got was from Khalil Mack. They basically only had rushing from one side of the line. Leonard Floyd was good in certain ways. He wasn't a pass rusher. You're not in on the Leonard Floyd thing?
You know what? I felt like he had more than enough time to develop.
Yeah.
The pressure came off of him when they got Khalil Mack. So you kind of expected his game level to raise up, and it didn't. So I was like, okay, he just doesn't quite play at that level like he did in college. That happens, and you have to accept it. So I was over Leonard Floyd like about over a season ago.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't blame you, because you put those guys in that position to sack the quarterback, and they love to, the coaches love to say that, there's more than just rushing the passer, but there isn't really. I mean, there is, but there isn't, if that makes sense, right? Like,
right.
You don't pay a guy pass rushing money to get 4 sacks a year,
And dropping coverage.
Right.
He's great in coverage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's good against the run. He's good in coverage. That's great. But so are 100 other guys that you didn't take 8th overall. So I do get that. With Quinn, though, he's an established veteran who's just that's his move. His move is rushing the passer. So they are going to be good. A healthy Akeem Hicks helps in so many different ways. I would say arguably more than Quinn, just because Hicks draws all that attention in the middle. But yeah, no, the defensive front is going to be the strength of this team, and if everyone stays healthy, I think they have a chance to be as good as 2018, or quite frankly, even better.
Do you think that Robert Quinn's going to have an issue because he had his hand down in Dallas, and he's probably going to have to come out of a 2-point in Chicago? How big of an issue do you think that's going to be?
I think if he had his way, he would come off the hand. But no, at the end of the day, there's so much talent around him that I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. Is he going to put up a career high in sacks? Maybe not. But I don't think the Bears need him to. I don't think that's something. They're not bringing him in here to be, the sack leader on the team. So is it maybe the exact perfect fit? No, but when you can get an established NFL pass rusher who has just shown time and time again that he can do it well, and put him across from Khalil Mack, put him on the line with Eddie Goldman and Akeem Hicks, and put him with Roquan Smith and those guys, the talent's going to show up. And if it may not be the perfect schematic fit, but ultimately I think the Bears will be totally fine with the talent overriding schematic fit.
Okay, so 2 questions. I always have to have a barometer of things.
Okay.
So you said better than last year. So does that mean slightly better? That means could win the division? I mean, granted, you don't have a crystal ball, But right now, the division seems like it's wide open, and it's for the taking, because Green Bay, which usually is the issue every year, is having their own set of issues. So when you say better than last year, is it you think they're better because they should make the playoffs, win the division, or it's just personnel? Stop with the Super Bowl stuff.
Yeah, let's go.
It's everything is incremental.
Right.
That's the first thing. And since you mentioned Super Bowl, Shawn, the other litmus test for us in Chicago when it comes to defenses, because when it's all said and done, the Bears will always be a defensive team. We need to be offensively better, but we pride ourselves in Chicago on our defense. Good enough to be compared to a Bears Super Bowl defense, or not quite yet?
I won't go there yet, just because it's June 24th, and
and you don't want to be on record.
Yeah, right. I got that to protect. No, no one's played on the field in 6 months, so we don't know. On paper, it's very, very good. On paper, I think they could be as good as 2018, better. Someone asked me, I forget when it was, for a record prediction a couple weeks ago, and I said I think they go 9-7. I think they're about one game. I could see if something bounces their way, 10-6. But I think that's good enough to win the NFC North. I don't know if they will, but I don't see a team that is far and away more talented than the Bears. The Packers were not a 13-win team last year. They're going to regress. I think the Vikings are sort of at the same level of the Bears. They have their own questions on defense. They have a secondary that basically looks totally different. Good talent, but you never know how that fits. So every team in the NFC North has a pretty glaring weakness. The team that obviously figures it out is going to win. What worries me is that the Bears' glaring weakness is at quarterback, and that is tough to overcome.
Hey, Cam, last question before we let you go. We're joined by Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago. Nagy is he's my biggest issue on the Chicago Bears team.
Okay.
His inability to call plays and make Mitch feel comfortable. His refusal to run the ball on situations. Do you see anything changing with Nagy? Because he refused to put Mitch in a good position to be successful. By that I mean rolling out. By that I mean having him run. By that I mean having him using his athletic ability to make plays and move the chains. In addition to the running, the actual running of the ball, he would always get behind the mic and say, "Well, in every play there's two. You can run or pass. How about you just call a run? How about you just call a run and say, hey, listen, we're gonna run the ball down your throat this drive and stop us if you can." Do you see him making any changes? Because now he's got a quarterback that he's comfortable with. It's waiting in the wings, and if Mitch doesn't get it together, I mean, he might not have to have Mitch feel comfortable. He may just say, "You know what? You're not what I want. You're not what I wanted anyway. I got my guy."
Yeah, I think the Bears are going to line up in a lot of 21 personnel and run down people's throats? No, I just don't think Matt Nagy was brought in to do that, and I don't think there's really any personnel on the Bears that would make that work. Jimmy Graham is not getting younger. I'll put it that way. Cole Kmet still has to work on his blocking at the NFL level. So there's a lot of line and blocking questions behind a sort of power run game. He could run the ball more than 7 times a game, and that would be useful. I do agree with that. And I do think that the line play and the line scheme and the running game will look different and probably be a little more involved this year, excuse me. So I think there's hope. David Montgomery's good. He didn't have a very spectacular year yesterday, but he is good. And I think
because he was shaking defenders in the backfield as soon as he got the ball.
He's a little bit light on his feet, but he doesn't go down. He's a good running back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He does what Nagy wants to do within that system well. I think they could use another veteran running back just because, I think if David Montgomery goes down, you don't really have. I don't think Tariq Cohen is, a 3-down, A-gap back.
No.
I don't think he thinks that. He just certainly doesn't want to get paid like that next year. But I think that they will be better. But ultimately, Matt Nagy's here to sort of stretch the ball, throw it deep, read options. So I think there's hope. I don't think fans that are going to want to see 45, 46 rushes a game are going to be very happy, because that's just not really why they hired Nagy in the first place.
Guys, that's Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago. Do me a favor, Papa. Let everybody know where they can find you and your work online.
Yeah, so I'm a part of the team at NBCSportsChicago.com. You can find us at NBCSportsChicago.com/Bears. Me and JJ Stankovitz and Adam Hogue do the three of us. So yeah, NBCSportsChicago.com.
And you can find him on Twitter at Kingsley Ellis.
Yes.
What's the meaning behind Kingsley Ellis?
It's my middle name. It's and then I made the Twitter account like 10 years ago, and I just I've never changed it. And people are always the time like, you should probably change it. I'm like, yeah, maybe.
I think
no, that's dope as hell, dude.
That's
very British. That's very British.
I appreciate that. Yeah, some people are like, "Are you British?" I'm like, "No." I was just going
to ask you that.
He's got some cool parents. That's all. No, I love it. Don't change it.
I should dope, man. On you guys for the whole first half of the interview and see how it went.
Dude, that's a dope handle, Kingsley. I like that. Hey, buddy, thanks a lot, man. I'll reach out again. We will reach out again soon, man. Great stuff.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right.
All right now.
Yeah.
Guys, that was Cam Ellis from NBC Sports Chicago, and dude, I love that handle, Kingsley. When I saw that, I thought of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
I thought of the one was the Kings, the Kingsman. The Kingsman.
Yes.
Is the name of the movie. So yeah, it's funny. I think there is a general consensus across the board that everybody in Chicago again is focused on the offense this year. They're focused on Mitch. Now we're going to 3 seasons of that more than anything else. No one's worried about the defense, as you shouldn't be. And it's unfortunate that every year you get an improvement on the defense because they're already built to be better, whereas the offense is trying to make that move to get to that point. And it's interesting. This would be the season I do believe that if the Bears could win the division. Green Bay is not looking good, but I'm not going to call them out. The Vikings, there's been a lot of changes there as well, though it's a similar team. There's some changes. So if you're talking about a chance to get into the playoffs or win the division, I think it's highly probable. I mean, their schedule is doable. There's some challenges in there, but as long as they stay healthy in regards to no physical injuries being taken off for long periods of time, like Akeem Hicks and stuff like that, and hopefully we won't have issues with the COVID situation with them as well, then it seems like it should be a decent season. I don't know if just 9 wins do it for me, but I guess you got to take what you can get if it gets you to where you're trying to go.
I'm looking at it, Maya, and call me a homer, call me a, looking at through rose-colored glasses, but I see a good season. I see 10 plus wins. I can see 10, 11 wins, maybe 12, depending on the ball bouncing the right way here or there. I just think this defense with that addition of Quinn, with a healthy Akeem Hicks, that's a force. That's a force, and that's going to put.
I mean, it is, but
I think that's going to win a lot of games itself. And because if Mitch can't do it, we got a guy who can.
Well, that's okay. That's
we got a guy who can. Yeah.
Because too often, one of my caveats for an improvement with the team last year was that when the defense put the offense in a good field position, whether it was, the last matchup between our defense and other team's offense ended and the Bears get good field position, I was like, I don't want to just see 3 points. And too often in games, that's where we were. We kept only seeing 3 points. And I said, that's not acceptable. You haven't moved forward offensively. And I kept saying, why is the team being held hostage by Mitch, who might have had whatever he had going on in college, but it's just not matriculating at the NFL level. And here's the thing, he's not a starter. So stop trying to make somebody something that they're not. And instead, to me, 2 seasons were wasted because then you insulted everybody and went and got Chicken Neck, a.k.a. Mike Glennon, because we knew that wasn't going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? So time was wasted in regards to moving forward with the team for a lack of insight and vision. And I'm not going to put that on the coaching piece. I'm going to look straight up at the top and say, not acceptable, not okay.
Guys, we got to take a quick break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to bring our guy in, Scott Merkin from MLB.com, the White Sox beat writer. Man, we have a lot to talk about. He's fired up. He can only stay with a short time because he's got a lot of stuff. Now the baseball season has started, and he's got his phone calls and interviews. Scott's a popular man, dude. Let's get right to it. On the other side of the break, Scott Merkin from MLB.com, White Sox beat writer. So don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Major League Baseball has issued a 60-game schedule that will start July the 23rd or the 24th in empty ballparks. The announcement by the league came while more players continue to test positive for the virus, at least 7 on the Phillies alone. Milwaukee pitcher Brett Anderson tweeted this week, quote, "What happens when we all get it? Players will start reporting from the resumption of training on July the 1st. It remains to be seen which players will report back. High-risk individuals are allowed to opt out and still receive salary and service time. Each team will play 10 games against each of its 4 division rivals and 20 total games against the 5 clubs in the corresponding regional division in the other league." NASCAR has defended its reaction after a crew member found a rope that resembled the noose in Bubba Wallace's garage. An investigation determined that nobody could have known that Wallace would be assigned to that particular garage. NASCAR said it was the lone stall with a pulled-out rope that resembled a noose. Blue Emu promises no chill, no burn, no odor, just what you need to soothe tired muscles and joints. The Sports Flash is driven by Gene Truck Sanders, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
Rusty Wallace here for Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief. This pain cream is the official pain cream of NASCAR for a reason. It works fast, and you won't stink. There's no messy, greasy, nasty feel or any stinging or burning here. This is pure pain relief. Don't run your engine on Octane 89. Get the good stuff. And meet me in Victory Lane. Blue Emu works fast, and you won't stink.
Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief, the official pain relief cream of NASCAR.
Hey, save that bee. It's National Pollinator Week.
Did you know pollinators are more than just honeybees? Did you know 1 in 3 bites of food is made possible by pollinators? That's why Prairie View A&M Cooperative Extension is prepping for pollinators this week. Identify your backyard pollinators, take photos, and plant flowers to help them thrive. Visit agnearme.com. That's agnearme.com to download our pollinator prep guide today. Let's get prepping for National Pollinator Week.
Guys, welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. Our next guest, he is busy because the word came out. The decree had come down. Baseball is back. He's a good friend of the program. He works for MLB.com. He's a White Sox beat writer. He has been for the last 18 years. You can find him on Twitter at Scott Merkin. Guys, let's welcome back to Shawn and Maya, Scott Merkin. Scott, what's up, buddy? How are you? Thanks for your time.
Sure, no problem. How y'all doing?
Wonderful with the news yesterday. I was expecting the facts like we're back, just like Michael, we're back. But we'll take the news anyway instead. How excited?
I think one of the team. I think the Rays did that actually.
Did they?
The Rays,
oh, that's awesome.
Issued a press release that said, based on today, following words, we're back. That happened on my birthday, by the way, when Jordan came back. It was March 18th.
Nice.
What year? 95, maybe 95, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Birthday. Probably more coincidence that he planned it that way, I'm guessing.
But still,
he didn't run that by you? He didn't run that by you? That wasn't. Well, listen, we're excited, Scott. I know you are. You're back to work, and you'll be back covering the team. We're excited because you see, I'm a diehard Meathead Sox fan. I love it. Give me your thoughts when it finally came through yesterday, because I know they're haggling back and forth. Your thoughts initially when when the news broke that there will be baseball starting July 1st for a restart of spring training?
Well, I think it's great. People wanted the season back. I think the biggest issue now is going to be the virus, which has been the issue for a long time, unfortunately. And that, how is this going to affect teams? How are teams going to be able to handle this? What's going to happen when, they have stuff in place, they have protocol in place, but what's going to happen when, 1 or 2 of the players possibly test positive? So I think that's the negative side of it. That's the flip side. The great side is that baseball's back. Sox have an exciting young team, and let's see what happens from here on out.
And that makes a lot of sense to me as well, Scott. That's just something, unfortunately, that's out of their control. You can use the best precautions that you possibly can to try to ensure safety, but because there's so much interaction during the game, after the game, in between, that's something they can't control. But either way, it's good that they could get past the haggling over amount of games and pay and all those things, because initially it looked like that was going to be the thing that was going to stop baseball. So with that being said, 60 games, very short season, which means you must come out the gates like, playing like, you're possessed. There can be no, I got to warm up to this. Do you feel the White Sox are in a position where they're ready to start playing at a high level coming out the gates?
Well, this was the year that they were targeting to go from the rebuild to at least improve team. I think if it was a 162-game season, this was not a team, in my opinion, that was going to be a playoff team. This is a team that was going to be closer to the Twins and Indians atop the AL Central than they were the Tigers and Royals, who were rebuilding, which was not the case last year. Last year they were pretty firmly in between, maybe closer to the bottom rung. but I thought they were going to be improved. They had some great additions, Yasmani Grandal, Dallas Keuchel, Edwin Encarnacion, Steve Cishek, Gio Gonzalez. So, they had a great workup going with the young guys they have in place. But now you can add in the fact that you have, guys who are coming back that weren't going to start the season with the team will probably be there now. Michael Kopech, for example. Carlos Rodon was thought, had a target date of somewhere after the All-Star break. Well, late July would be somewhere after the All-Star break. Even guys like Dane Dunning and Jimmy Lambert and Ryan Burr, who's reliever, all are, making progress towards that point. So it's a good problem to have too many people in the mix, right? To have too many good people in the mix. But yeah, I think, it can go one of two ways. I mean, this is a team. Same thing with some of these lesser teams. I mean, I remember the Tigers at one point last year, I think were 19-18, and they finished off a lot worse than 19-18 as their first pick of Spencer Torkelson showed. But I think any team that gets on kind of a roll for 60 games, which is the one thing that kind of maybe skews it a little bit. Let's say the Tigers start off, as an example, Tigers, Sox, whoever, a team that's not a frontline team projected to be in the playoffs, starts off, 25-15. Well, you basically just have to, hold on to the last 15 to get in the playoffs and see what happens from there. So it'll be very interesting. I think the Sox have a chance. Certainly, they would have had a chance last year. They were 29-31 after last year's 60 games. So, not too far off the pace, a competitive team. You can improve a little bit from that this year, and you put yourself in playoff contention.
Guys, we're joined by Scott Merkin from MLB.com, the White Sox beat writer, talking White Sox baseball right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. So your thoughts, give me, how do you feel these White Sox are going to come out? I feel that they because of the fact that it's a short season, because of the fact that they're talented, because of the fact that they had a good year last year, even though they didn't make the playoffs, a lot of people got some time. They got to cut their teeth. I'm expecting this team literally to come out and with a bang. I'm expecting this team, Luis Robert. Your thoughts on how they come out? Because I think, and again, it just might be me being a homer and a diehard White Sox fan. I think the White Sox have as good a chance as anybody to take this division and literally come out of the gate running like stallions.
Yeah, it's just so difficult to say. You have no idea how these guys are going to come back. Remember, when you have this is the equivalent of an off season, and when you have the regular off season, when you're coming back. The benchmarks you have to get to before you get to spring training on whatever date it is, February 12th, February 14th. And this time, no one knew. They kept taking, they had ideas. They knew this might be possible. It could be coming at this point, but no one knew exactly when it was coming back. So I think it's really up in the air. They have good young talent, a lot of time, like a guy like Robert takes time to adjust and that sort of thing. We'll see if that happens. But I think they have guys who are confident and guys who believe they were really building something strong in spring training version 1. So we'll see what happens in spring training version 2. But it's tough to predict that, they're going to come out and go 20-10 or whatever. They're playing 10 games against everyone in the division. So,
Right.
The Royals and Tigers, that works. The Indians and Twins, that's a little tougher. And then you have a very tough NL Central where
Very true.
Everyone but Pittsburgh is competitive, right, in that division. And even Pittsburgh in a short season has some pitching, so they maybe. So it's not the easiest draw. So we'll see what happens. They're a very confident young group, and like I said, they really felt like they were building. They believed they were building something good during spring training before it ended on March 13th.
What's really interesting about what we can just call the abbreviated season, obviously, is the fact that you're going to have a good feel for if you're in this sooner rather than later than for a playoff push. So what I think becomes a unique situation for the White Sox, let's just say they get into the season and they find that they're not going to make the playoffs. Then they have the option to say, okay, it's a short season. Let's put our kids out here and see what they can do, because this is really like, training by fire. But the difference is they've got nothing to lose except for the experience more than anything else. So opposed to having to go that full season and say, when do we bring so-and-so up? When do we kind of give them a chance to cut their teeth? Once they know they're not in it, which that's not what I want. Don't get me wrong, because I'm a White Sox fan too. But then I want that shift to let's really start checking out what we have and let's give them this time in a very unique situation that got dropped into our lap.
Yeah, I think the good thing is a lot of the key young guys are there, right? Robert's going to be the starting center fielder from opening day. Tim Anderson's defending his batting title. Yoan Moncada is coming off an MVP caliber season last year. Eloy Jimenez had a great finish to the season. So the guys you're looking at really is, Kopech, how he kind of fits in, and Nick Madrigal at second base. Guys like Andrew Vaughn and that ilk are probably still, at least a year away, especially with no minor league season to get any work so far. But yeah, I think, they're going to ride with these young guys and the guys they've added, and they're going to see what happens. It's a very talented team. It's a very interesting team. I think everyone's keeping the eye on the White Sox because of the fact that this was supposed to be the year they stepped up. Now, you combat the other side. How disappointing is it if, let's say, this team starts off 5-17, and then you're already, pretty much out of the playoff picture with it being, 1/3 of the season gone. So what's the feel then? Does it not destroy, but does it hamper any of the good feeling that was being built with an excellent offseason where they added some key free agents? They locked down a lot of their guys, their core guys. So you just kind of write it off and say, okay, it's part of the growing process and look towards next year? Or does it, put a little doubt into you, especially with development being hampered this year? Let's face it, look at the pictures. Guys like Giolito, who was great last year and really has confidence that he's, found something he can take out there. He's pitched 2 seasons. He had 1 bad season, 1 great season. So he's going to get 11 starts this year, probably in this abbreviated season, assuming it goes all the way through. And probably half of those starts will be real starts. They're not going to let guys go 7 innings, 90 pitches right out of the gate. It's going to be controlled early on. So development's being hampered in this. So you hope for the Sox that at least it's a good feel. If it's not playoffs, which is what the ultimate goal is, it's at least a good feel coming off this season that you took another step forward towards 21, which was really their prime contending window open to begin with.
And it's interesting you say that, and I agree. And I'm one of those few people, I'm really hard on Giolito. I don't give him as much leeway as some other people do. So I kind of want to see him really take advantage of this situation and excel. Or on the flip side, I think it puts a lot of players like Ray kind of in this strange kind of vacuum because I feel like he's a player that needs to prove that he should be in the rotation. But now you've got this change in how a season is played out. So because we've seen he can come out and wow us and then come out and have another start where it's just absolutely awful. Right. So it's like, even in that evaluation piece, like in the starting rotation, who's staying? Where do we make this work? I think it does complicate that in regards to thinking who should you let go moving forward if they don't play up to expectation.
Yeah, I want to make it clear. I think, Giolito, I think, is the ace of the staff. I was just saying that in terms of development, you really only have 2 years. You have 2 years behind you, in terms of what to figure out. So, development is key. And you're right about Lopez. I mean, it's hard to, but it's going to be hard to make any kind of value judgment over 60 games.
Yes. Okay.
Unless, someone comes out and aces it for 11 or is awful for 11. I think even if Lopez, who is the flip side of Giolito, right? In 18, Lopez was very good. In 19, he was one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball. Giolito was one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball in 18, was an all-star and a strong Cy Young candidate in 19. So, it's all part of the development process.
Yes.
And it's you're not going to make a full judgment of 60 games this year,
Right.
So you like to see progress from everyone no matter what.
Okay, so I got to ask this question because your word is like gospel to me. Is Giolito really the ace of the staff because his stuff from an MLB level is just that good? Or because we really just don't have anybody else that we got to give that title to, so he's the next man up? Because Rodon could have been that next man up, but injury has absolutely foiled what I believe he could do. Seriously. So is he truly the ace of the staff, or is it we got to give him because he's the person to go with?
You broke up. Were you asking about Giolito?
Yes. Is he really the ace of the staff, so to speak? Or is
I think right now he is, but I think that's more a terminology for media. I don't think Don Cooper and Rick Renteria and Rick Hahn and Ken Williams sit there and say, well, we got to put him. Put it this way: Giolito was going to be the opening day starter for 2020, and he still may be in this abbreviated. I'm sure he will be, as a matter of fact, in this abbreviated season. But yeah, I think what he looked like last year, that is an ace hurler. That looked like Chris Sale. That looked like Mark Burley. That looked like, a lighter version of Justin Verlander in his absolute prime.
Oh, okay.
That looked like a number 1 guy. Now again, people talk. Michael Kopech can be that too, right? So, yes. Right now, Lucas Giolito looks like an ace pitcher. Looks like number one guy in the rotation.
He's definitely like, as it goes, what the White Sox have. Yes, he's that guy. I really, Rodon was somebody it took a long time for me to put him into my circle of trust. Seriously. And he finally got there, and then he just unfortunately is consistently, injury ridden. And I would hate to believe there's no place for him in the starting rotation, but at the same time, you can't be held hostage by what he was supposed to be if he can't be there consistently. But I always feel like there can be a place for him in middle relief if he could accept that role.
Yeah, I think injuries have been a key thing for him, but I think there's been some inconsistency for him too. He's shown some greatness. He's shown 100-mile-an-hour fastball, 99-mile-an-hour fastball in the 7th or 8th inning, up near 100 pitches. And then he's been knocked around early and starts. But I guess that's at every young starter, with him healthy, he certainly does have, top of the rotation type of stuff. Remember, he's just got one more year of White Sox control after this one.
Right.
So this may be a year with, if you figure Kopech and Rodon are both ready to go when this abbreviated season starts, you're going to have 7 starters. So either you're going to use 7 starters and limit their innings, or you're going to use 5 or 6, and one guy is going to have to be kind of the swing guy, between starting and the bullpen. So I think, it's a good problem to have that they have so many pitchers to turn to in there.
This is very weird, a good problem. This is very unlike Chicago baseball, where we have this many starters that we can actually count on, that we don't have to hold our breath when they take the mound. Hey, Scott, thanks a lot, buddy. We appreciate your time as always.
Anytime.
Great stuff. We love talking Sox baseball with you because we're all Sox fans here. The heck with our producer who's a Cub fan. It doesn't matter. But hey, we'll be in touch soon, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
okay,
guys.
Sounds good. Have a good day, guys. Take care.
Bye. Guys, that was Scott Merkin from MLB.com, White Sox beat writer for the last 18 years. I didn't get a chance I wanted to ask him. So I'll ask you this question, Maya. How much do you think small ball is going to be a factor in this season, this abbreviated season? The White Sox have guys who can do it. They have speed on the base paths. And will Ricky Renteria make that a priority? Because, hey, when you start extra inning games with runner on second base, your first thing is get them over. You better lay a bunt right down to that, right at the third baseman, so the guy can get from second to third. How are they going to use small ball this season?
I think you have to take in consideration. You have to go with the flow of the season. I don't think anybody should walk into this season with like, this is my game plan. This is hard and fast. There's no changing, because what is happening is already requiring that you make adjustments to how you normally would do things in the first place. So to me, within Renteria's arsenal, who, by the way, this is a season for me, if he doesn't do well, I'm like, we can move on to the next one. I felt about Renteria. He's not my guy. I'm just not right there with him. But he has within his pocket speed, the ability to play small ball. Because here's the thing, coming out the gates, the bats may not be cracking like that for long ball. You know what I'm saying? So you work to your advantage. You got guys that can play small ball, and all of a sudden, if that long ball part plays into it, then you go with it. But I think you got to work toward your advantages. And advantage right now is speed and the ability to work in that direction to get runners on the base. So that's what you go with, because that's what you have. And then when the opportunity presents itself, maybe as things are heating up, you make some changes to the starting lineup, or, I'm saying order and things. This is like, there was no spring training. Not that makes people automatically ready, but it's that April and May that gets people ready for June and July, and they didn't have it. So now it's like, fast forward, feet, on the pedal, you got to figure out where you are and can you make this happen like right now. We also have a team that doesn't have that necessary chemistry, that they haven't got to play together. That clubhouse kind of, overall feeling is not there. And even when it is there, I'm hoping they're not going to be looking at each other like, man, don't be breathing on me. What's wrong with you? I'm just kidding. I doubt they'll say that, but there's just a lot in the mix here. But even if the season doesn't go great, I'm not going to be upset, because it isn't a traditional season, and I don't feel it's indicative of what could have happened over a longer season, so to speak.
I think that Rick Renteria should highly encourage small ball. I think
it's a choice, though. I don't think he's a choice coming out the gates.
I think so. This is because it's such a sprint. You do what you got to do to earn a win. All right, get these guys on the base paths. You got Tim Anderson, you have Yoel Moncada, you have Lou Bob, you have Mazada, you have probably Madrigal who's starting. So you have 4 to 5 guys, heck, there's even 4 guys in that lineup that can lay the ball down, that can get on the base paths, can cause wreak havoc on the base paths. I think that's because that is such. And you just mentioned no spring training. People don't play small ball. People don't steal bases at a rate that they used to. There's no more Ricky Hendersons and Vince Coleman's and Lonnie Smith and Ozzie Smiths anymore. There's no people like that. So when you do that, that stresses the defense big time.
1, 2, 3, 4. How many black people in baseball? I'm sorry. I couldn't resist it just because you named all them people. I'm like, well, the numbers are down in regards to,
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right.
The black contingency in boys baseball who tended historically, I'm not just saying this to be ignorant, historically to be the base stealers. Let's be honest. Yep. So hence, does that number get grossly affected because it's not there? So I guess we should then look at.
Yeah, but you have the Dominican guys who are they're African. They're black. They're black. They just speak Spanish.
First of all, don't keep minimizing people's culture like that. They are part of the African diaspora. You're right.
They're black, so they got the DNA. That means they're gonna run. They're gonna run.
That's not the same thing.
A big swing away from base stealing, and I think it needs to go back to that.
I think it needs to be greatly incorporated. But remember that I remember in a lot of people who played Little League baseball that were black. That was a big part of what was built into what they did and playing.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, so let's be honest, and coming out of the Caribbean League and a lot of those countries, they don't necessarily focus heavily on that. So that's something that Renteria has to instill, but he's got the speed. It isn't like anybody on those young guys are slow. That's not it.
No.
So it's just about making them understand there's an art to base stealing. And this is why you can name the people that you named, because there's an art to it, and helping them to understand how to get the skill sets to understand when's the best time, how's your lead, that jump, that pitch, all those things play into that. That's the key thing. And if they haven't been working on that before now, it's maybe not the best time to think they're going to do great at it. But if he's pushing the issue and saying, go on, try it. And if it doesn't happen that way, well, we're not going to die, But yeah, I'd say small ball is going to be at least how things proceed, and teams that are better suited to do it. Like I could see the Braves, who did a decent job, be in a position to use it more.
Yeah, well, that's what I hope, especially in extra innings. Because you got a guy at second, like I said, and I think that's a good way for Stocks to steal some games. And in such a short season, you steal some games. I think that's a huge thing, because every win at this particular season, that's a huge thing. Every win is magnified.
I gotta give some love. You're right. Scotty was a good base stealer. I don't see. Now I feel like I marginalized my white people. That's not what I meant. I wasn't trying to make you feel like you couldn't steal bases too. Okay, let me stop. I was about to say something real inappropriate.
Scotty, Jose's not white. Jose Suazo. Jose.
No. I know what he is. I'm like, but he was given a little love. Say, hey, wait a minute. What about Scotty Pods? No, Scotty was good at it. I'm just saying historically, if you look at base stealers, there's a correlation of certain things. But no, Scotty was good. He was. You know what? Like I said, there's an art to base stealing. It isn't just speed. Speed isn't the only thing that makes you good at base stealing.
Nope.
So, he's right about that. So I don't want people to feel like I'm saying white people can't steal bases, like white men can't jump. That's not fair.
Yeah, Rex Chapman could jump out of the gym.
Exactly. There's those stereotypes that people like to run with too much. Stop. That's why we are where we are right now. Okay. Anyways,
but back to that, I just think, yeah, it does. I want to see that. I want people to understand, for our White Sox, that this is another aspect of their game offensively that you're going to have to deal with. Because once they start, because they're starting in June or July, so it's going to be warm, and Sox Park might actually just be a launching pad to start with. Because usually in the beginning months it's a little cooler, but in the summertime when the weather's warm, that's a launching pad. So if the White Sox can start launching Jose Abreu, Edwin Encarnacion, Yasmani Grandal, and the Eloy Jimenez, the guys who aren't very fast, okay, and they start knocking the ball out of the park, and all of a sudden now you start laying the ball down and bunting, and you're having Luis Robert and Moncada and Anderson and Luis Robert, all those guys putting pressure on the defense. That's a tough task for a team defensively, and that's what I want to see from this team, because I think if they can do that, whether they make the playoffs or go deep in or don't make the playoffs, I think that's a good blueprint for them next year.
One of the things that I will say that I enjoyed last year, even with, we have some new additions, and all of them are not going to necessarily be fast, especially our veterans. But the thing I loved about last year is you couldn't tell Jose Abreu that he couldn't run. I mean,
No.
if he was in a position, seriously, he ran it out as best as he could. The hustle was there. I mean, so again, it's about being advantageous. It's not thinking, oh, I'm Jose Abreu, so I got to go out here and knock a ball out the yard. No, it's like work to what's happening, and it's making those adjustments happen that I think are really key. So, it's a young team. Their speed. We'll see how it pans out. I'm probably more fixated, to be honest, about the pitching, because I think it's short season. They didn't have a chance to really warm up and get ready. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm concerned how it plays out. But again, if it doesn't turn into everything I want it to be, I'm not discouraged that it's still not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely want to see improve competition. I really want them to be competitive, and I think they will. I just can't have them come out and like a wet rag and start off the season like that. Put it in their pocket. I think they need to come out, and I think they will. I have a feeling that because they've grown, and the majority of the players on the team were here last year. You had a Grandal, you had a Encarnacion, and you had Lubab. Well, Lubab has been in the system. He's had spring training with a lot of these guys, so right. So some of the chemistry is there, not fully, but some of it's there. And then you add Mazada. Okay, probably in right field. So you have a decent number of guys, 6 guys in that field. So you're adding a couple. I think they're good in a really, really good place. I know what's really weird is that, and I know it's going to sound bad.
Here he goes.
The fact that they're Hispanic is that they can communicate and there's no language barrier.
So what? So Tim gets to be isolated on the field by himself? What?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying someone like Mazada and Grandal. But when you come in, now you can be one of the guys. Okay, and you're
Tim can't be one of the guys now.
Tim's always one of the guys. Tim, dude, the way he throws that bat, he'll be down with anybody in any clubhouse.
That's right, because Tim and Mike gonna be buddies. I'm not even worried about it. So 2 of my favorites are gonna hang out. Mike.
Oh, Kopech. Yeah. You said Mike. I'm thinking, before you say Mike, I'm thinking, oh boy, Mike, MJ. But I'm like, what are you talking about, Mike?
Mike. They're gonna be buddies. That works for me.
Oh yeah. They both have that swag. They both have that aura. That's
needed. That's needed in the locker room to kind of give it that attitude. And I want them to come out the gates with a chip on their shoulder. I do. And it's okay to feel like we got something to prove. I mean, I want them to come in like, this is advantageous for us because this is an abbreviated season. It's intense, but it's a chance for us to really do something big. And Scott Merkin said something I think is really key. It's a good problem to have that you have so many pitchers that you can try to work into this mix. You can almost feel like the Brewers, because remember the Brewers, their starters didn't go deep into innings necessarily. Yep. It was their bullpen and middle relief that was exceptional. It wasn't necessarily the starters. So the Sox don't have to necessarily, with 7 available pitchers, lean so heavy on anybody, but yet give time on the mound to a lot of developing arms without overstressing them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always loved and appreciated that Chris Sale came through the bullpen, but very quickly he showed you that he needed to be a starter on the mound. This is now that opportunity, because, I've been clamoring for Dane Dunny. I was a huge fan of his. So when he got injured, I was like, okay. But then, Michael Kopech came along and I was perfectly fine. But then that injury happened. So what's nice about this is a lot of injury people have had extra time to heal. Rodon included. He's still in my circle of trust, and I want to see him do well. And this is an opportunity for him to get the work, but to not be overworked.
And I think he should come out in the bullpen. I think Michael Kopech should come out in the bullpen. So I think right now, and those are people that you bring in. You bring in, first of all, Rodon with his nasty slider and Kopech with his 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Those are tough things when you've already faced one pitcher once through the order, maybe twice through the order, who doesn't have a slider that's so nasty or a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. That split second is the difference between getting a hit or being late and striking out. So the disparity between pitches and the types of pitchers that we have, I think, is great. Is the variety, and you have to change your approach at the plate depending on who's on the mound. And when you have such big variations between starting pitcher and really relief pitchers, I think that bodes well for the White Sox. So I'm looking for them to hoist the World Series trophy. At least I think they'll contend for the playoffs. It's going to be tough and keep in mind, as our Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife just jumped in, Ivan Vargas. That NL Central is no joke. Scott wasn't. They're no punk. You got the Cubs. You have the Brewers. You have the Cardinals. You still got. I mean, Cincy. I don't know. I hope Cincy's not a pain in our ass like they are to the Cubs, because that would really suck. And then you have the Pirates. So there's some games that could be won and could really add to our numbers, and there's some games that can really damage us in that NL Central.
I mean, the Pirates are really. I mean, they're there, but I mean, the Pirates, like, eh.
But like, that's what I'm talking about. Even though that's the team that you can't lose to. That's a team that you can't lose 2 out of 3 to the Pirates, especially if you have any hope of trying to get to the postseason.
I don't think the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to be that. I would agree if it was like the Reds, the Brewers, like you can't lose to those teams that are going to contend. But I don't see the Pirates contending. I mean, I can see if you lose a series late in the year, like or get late in the 60-game sprint, yeah, then you're screwed. If you fall short, at the beginning you have a shot, but you cannot. Like I agree with you. You can't lose series to teams that you should be kicking their ass, really.
You can only lose 2. You can only lose 1 out of the series. One game.
Whose ass are you supposed to be kicking this year? I'm just curious.
All of them. All of them.
We didn't say who he was giving ass up to. We said Maya's cursing.
Maya.
It's hump day.
That was hilarious. That was actually very good, Maya. That was good.
No pun intended. I promise you. Oh my God, people are sensitive right now. So look, he's up. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk to the Cubs too. I mean, they have a situation, and everything's up in the air with them. They have the core that won the World Series just a few years ago. They have a new manager, but a guy who's still familiar with that core because he was part of that core. He understands these players. He was actually one of the we all could see the writing on the wall that he was eventually going to be a manager at some particular point. He was very knowledgeable in the game from a manager's perspective. But now this is his first gig, his first go-run. Can he push those buttons like he did as a player? Can he make the right decisions? Because let's keep it real, the Cubs are still extremely talented. There's, despite the Ricketts issues and despite the Addison Russell issue and despite the Chris Bryant contract issue, they are still really talented. And the way Yu Darvish started coming along last year made him look like a frontline starter like the Yu Darvish that we knew and loved in the regular season. They can do it too.
I'll say this: it's not going to be their hitting; it's going to be that pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the unit that benefits the most, because a 60-game sprint, man, you could go on a run. Lester could go on have a great couple weeks. Kyle Hendricks we could see having a great couple weeks. Even a Tyler Chatwood, who I assume is going to be the 5th guy. Like all these pitchers who have these, have these like downfalls to their game. Lester being a little older, Hendricks with an up and down past couple of years, Tyler Chatwood with his struggles, and of course Yu Darvish. Like I feel like this, especially a sprint like this, would benefit them benefit each player's negative factor. I think it just benefits them a little more rest. Faster games, you're not sitting down, getting tired. You're not getting rusty, and you go from there. But I think it's the pitching staff. I think the pitching staff will definitely have a huge jolt from having this.
Well, you have 3 guys who really going to determine where this goes, and that's Darvish, that's Lester, and that's the professor, Kyle Hendricks.
Yep.
If you guys can win, if those guys can win on a consistent basis, say you get 11 starts, if those guys give you 8 or 9 wins out of their 11, give or take 11 starts, then you guys are sitting pretty, because then you can get a couple of, you're going to get a couple of wins from your 4th and 5th guys, whoever they are, Chatwood and whoever else you have in there, and that'll help. But you have 3 guys in there that rotation relies on. If they go to work and they come to play, they're ready to roll, and they start dealing from Jump Street. Yeah, the Cubs will be a tough team to beat. What Armando said, I just want to see baseball being played in some sense of normal life come back. Yeah, don't we all? Well, listen, we got to take one more break, the last break of the show. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Major League Baseball has issued a 60-game schedule that will start July the 23rd or the 24th in empty ballparks. The announcement by the league came while more players continue to test positive for the virus, At least 7 on the Phillies alone. Milwaukee pitcher Brett Anderson tweeted this week, quote, "What happens when we all get it? Players will start reporting for the resumption of training on July the 1st. It remains to be seen which players will report back. High-risk individuals are allowed to opt out and still receive salary and service time. Each team will play 10 games against each of its 4 division rivals and 20 total games against the 5 clubs in the corresponding regional division in the other league." NASCAR has defended its reaction after a crew member found a rope that resembled the noose in Bubba Wallace's garage. An investigation determined that nobody could have known that Wallace would be assigned to that particular garage. NASCAR said it was the lone stall with a pull-down rope that resembled a noose. Blue Emu promises no chill, no burn, no odor, just what you need to soothe tired muscles and joints. The Sports Flash is driven by Gene Chuck Sanders, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
Rusty Wallace here for Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief. This pain cream is the official pain cream of NASCAR for a reason. It works fast, and you won't stink. There's no messy, greasy, nasty feel or any stinging or burning here. This is pure pain relief. Don't run your engine on Octane 89. Get the good stuff. And meet me in Dixie Lane. Blue Emu works fast, and you won't stink.
Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief, the official pain relief cream of NASCAR.
Hey, save that bee. It's National Pollinator Week.
Did you know pollinators are more than just honeybees? Did you know 1 in 3 bites of food is made possible by pollinators? That's why Prairie View A&M Cooperative Extension is prepping for pollinators this week. Identify your backyard pollinators, take photos, and plant flowers to help them thrive. Visit agnearme.com. That's agnearme.com to download our pollinator prep guide today. Let's get prepping for National Pollinator Week.
Guys, welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. Maya had a bouncer. I think she's going to Dominican Republic, or where's she flying? You know, she always likes her island. I don't know. She wants to go to work. Anyway, so me and my Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, who I didn't get to properly introduce this morning, Ivan Vargas, are going to hold it down for the stretch run. Ivan, how you doing, Papa?
I'm doing good. It's a nice day. Yeah, just chilling. Yeah, I like the conversation today. It's picking up. Scott, I mean, I'm pretty sure he didn't say Sox are going to win the World Series. I'm quite sure he said 3rd place.
No, you're wrong. Ivan, what did we tell you about drinking on the job, dude? Stop. Seriously, stop. At least wait. It's only 11 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. Man, we started 9, so you start drinking at what, 7, 8?
Bailey's in this coffee.
Borracho, my goodness. No, but I don't think Minnesota's going to have another season like they did last year, where they hit everything and their mom out of the ballpark. So I think there's going to be some regression there, and it could happen where they pick up where they left off because it's such a short season. But I just don't think so. So I think we can have that situation there. Cleveland.
Yeah. I think Cleveland is at that point where this is probably the break season. It's a make or break season, but I think it's a break season. You're going to see a lot of shifting going on in Cleveland, especially if they. This is where where you're absolutely correct with. The Pirates could even make a run like in 60 games. Like you can't lose these because a team like Cleveland. They could go on a huge, they could go on get on a hot streak and take off, and then all of a sudden they're in first place in the AL Central. But for Cleveland, I feel like if they don't, I think you see guys getting traded. I think you see guys that are going to pop up, especially with the deadline being so close. I think you get guys, boom. If they don't take off, they're going to start moving people because you got to look to the future. If you're not taking, if you're not in it, if you're not in contention within the first 30 games, I would say that you have to decide on what you're going to do with the future of your team.
I see a lot of, and when I mentioned to Maya before, I said I see there can be first of all, it's wide open. So I see a team a long shot making a move, because you come out of the gates, in your first 20 games you go 17-3, 15-5, something like that. Now you're sitting pretty, okay. And now with the All-Star, with the trade deadline, August 31st, you're trading for a guy for 27 days. If a team who struggle or who usually struggles in a bottom feeder, or a team that we weren't really giving any respect to, comes out like that, why wouldn't they want to go get a rental? Why wouldn't they say, hey, listen, in a regular season, we're nowhere near going to be anywhere top of this division. But we're fighting for a position right now. We're in first place or second place, a game behind or whatever it is. Why not go get a big slugger, in the final year of his contract? Why not go get a rental player in the final year of his contract and say, hey, listen, we got you for 27 games. Okay. Do your thing. That could be. So how crazy would that be if Miami ends up signing, they first of all, they come off to a really hot start, and then they end up signing some big stick or a good arm who's in the last year of the contract, and now they go on to win the World Series because of that boost, and knowing damn well in a 162 game season, there's no way they would be near contention. I can see that happen with a few teams.
Well, it's just is the juice worth the squeeze? You know what I mean? Like, are you for sure? Because you get a team like you said, like if we'll talk about the bottom end teams, Pittsburgh or Miami, right? Let's say they take off. They know they don't have the talent to back up another season. I mean, they could go after it. Like Miami's done it a few times where there's this one and done type of a baseball season. They go win a World Series and then they disappear for like 5-6 years. Recently, it's been a lot longer, but still. But my point is that they know if they know that this is it. This is their shot. So yeah, it makes sense to take it, especially if the team in the down you're so young. You're not really solid as a group, as a clubhouse. Like you got pretty much Miami is trial and error with players right now. Like they're trying to build from the bottom up. And I mean, if they catch fire. And one or a bat and an arm or two arms or whatever it does to get them over the top so they could win this year, I think it benefits them because they could do something like that. They know what team they have. But when you got guys like, for instance, the White Sox with the talent that they have on that squad, you can't go trading away assets or trading for assets knowing damn well that this is the only year that they're gonna be involved, because now you're talking about blowing money. Now you're talking about thinking about other contracts later on down the road, and that this one shortened season can deter all that.
I don't think the White Sox are in that category. I don't think they would do that, but there'll be some other teams who it would benefit to, and that's why I'm saying some obscure team who just happens to have all the stars align and they come out of the gates quick. I don't think the Whites, because the bottom line then for those teams is, are you willing to give up whatever someone's going to ask? And the asking price isn't going to be high, because if this person is in the last year of their contract, a lot of, it depends. They can say, hey, if I have something you want, I'll say, hey, I know you have a good shot at winning the World Series if you get this guy. If they have general managers like Rick Hahn, God bless them, because Rick Hahn will get everything in their mama. Okay, but if they don't, you might not have to pay as much for a rental, because they're going to want something back.
I feel like certain teams will want a significant chunk back, because they know the position that the other team is, that the buyer is in. Because if they're in that desperate mode where, hey man, we're in it, we could win a World Series. I don't care if shortened season or whatever, you could win a World Series title. They're going to do whatever you can. I feel like certainty, especially if they have the team to do it, to make this, first of all, to run this quick sprint and then make a deep push into the playoffs. They're going to go ahead and do whatever it takes, because you'll have a team, maybe underneath you or maybe right next to you in the standings that's going to do that. And somebody, and like I said, this for the sellers, it's all on you. The ball is in your court. You control the narrative. You could set the price if you want, and if that team thinks that that this will put them over the top, they'll pull the trigger. Whether they mortgage the farm or not, it's like
would you be willing to mortgage a farm or some of your top prospects if you're a Miami or Pittsburgh, because you have one shot at the apple?
Well, I don't think it's a Miami or Pittsburgh you have to worry about. I think it's a Cleveland. I think it's a team like a Cleveland. They have contract negotiation coming up. Lindor might not be an Indian for life. It's looking more and more like he won't be. Like teams like a Cleveland, teams like possibly an Oakland, like those teams, those middle of the pack teams that one move one way or another could put them at the bottom or it could bring them to the top. Like those are the teams that I'm speaking of.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm wondering, and you know, I can't wait till it happens. You know, I really want to see some team get close, some obscure team, really make that move and say, holy cow, or come out the gates fast and like, holy cow, these guys were pegged to finish at the bottom of their division, and now because of the shortened season, because of whatever, they're atop the division, or they're jockeying for playoff position. Boom! I want to see how that plays out. I want to see him get a slugger. I want to see just because right now with this, it's even ground, which is why I think my White Sox have a really, really, really good shot. The pitching, the power in the bats, the ability to play small ball. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot, and it's really exciting. And right around my birthday, which is July 25th, opening day starts the 23rd to 24th. Man, it's going to be awesome. That's a hell of a birthday present for me.
And they're starting off right out with whatever series was around that time, right? That the first series would be. What's the first series?
They have to come up with a new schedule because remember the schedule's modified now because you play 10 your division foes 10 times, and the inter squad teams 4. So we're gonna play the Cubs, Brewers, Pirates, Reds, and Cardinals 4 times, and then our division 10. Everyone in our division 10.
Another team, a team that made a bunch of offseason, Cincinnati Reds. I know they made a lot of offseason moves, but we've talked about it before. They look like they're going for it. So a team like that, especially let's say the Reds are middle of the pack, right? They didn't get off to a hot start, but they're middle of the pack. They have some decisions to make because what it was looking like, it was that you were trying to make a push, like a push for these next couple of seasons. Now you got to think about: do I want to go ahead and shoot my shot for this season if I'm in that position, or do I want to go ahead and see if I could win it out with the guys I have? And potentially miss out on a player that would put you over the top. See, these are decisions that they have to come up with.
Yeah, that's tough decisions. The tough decisions you get, and I want to see a team do it. And part of me, I was about to say I'd like to see a team do it and win the World Series, but I'm like, no, I want my White Sox to win the World Series. Because they have a good shot as anybody. I would like to see a team do that and get far, because right now it's the Wild Wild West. Like, you don't know. Like, you got to go for it. You literally, teams like the White Sox, no, you don't have to go for it right now because you have a team that's built for success. You have a team that's built for the next 5 to 7 to 10 years. Okay, you don't need to go for it now.
No.
Okay. Other teams, maybe not. Maybe you or what if Rick Hahn decides, hey, you know what, we are going to go for it now. There still is tons of talent in the farm system for the White Sox. There's still some arms. There's still some position players. And if it's for a rental, for a guy who could, maybe you need one more pitcher, maybe, or maybe a reliever. Because I think that would probably be the place that the White Sox would go, would be reliever if you needed someone. Colomé, I was mad for him. I apologized to him last year. I'm gonna do it again. I thought he was a buster. I thought he was a punk, and that dude, first next thing you know, like, man, 7 out of 7, 8 out of 8, 10 out of 10, 12 out of. I think he blew his first save at like 14 or 15th save attempt. I was like, whoa, we got a guy like this at the back end. Yes. Okay, player. I thought he was. I lumped him in with the Irving Santanas and all those other pitchers we had, and he was nothing like that. We got a legitimate closer in Colomé.
And you know what? Like, just to finish off that point about which teams would make a move or not. Look at what the perfect example is: Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease going to the White Sox for Jose Quintana. You took a shot, and now you're in trouble. Now Quintana wasn't going to be the number 2 that you thought. He's probably going to end up being your number 3 for however long he still has left. Like, was it a year left? And you gave away 2 of the top prospects, two guys that are going to succeed on another team that just so happens to be, one expressway right away from your stadium. But it's like that. That's the risk you run. And if you end up winning the World Series, cool, worth it. But if you don't, now we're talking about problems like problems in seasons in the future.
Well. Yeah, we do. One of the other issues that they're going to have is this pandemic that we're dealing with. Some players have already come down, have contracted COVID-19, and which is why they're going to have a taxi squad of guys playing ball close. One of the things that I would encourage is to have those guys. Okay, make sure they're tested. Your taxi squad, and either have them close, like in Rockford or somewhere else, or send them to Arizona. Okay, and keep them quarantined, and just start playing games, intra-squad games, every day, working on fundamentals, or simulate games, game time situations, just because if COVID hits, it could hit a couple of people. All right, if the pitchers are hanging out and one of them has it, boom, and all 2 or 3 of them have it, they can go to your top 3 guys. Yeah. All right, they can go to your top two or 3 outfielders. And so they're going to need people, and I'm wondering how that's going to play out, because that is going to be a huge factor. You come out of the gates, after 25 games, you're 20-5, 19-6, and you're sitting pretty, and all of a sudden 2 or 3 of your big boppers go down to COVID. Yeah, that changes stuff a lot.
Quickly, and especially in such a shortened season. You can't afford to lose. You can't afford to lose anybody. I mean, but if you do, you better hope that the next man up is a quality guy that's going to give you at least half of the production, at least half or more of the production that you got out of your starter.
Yeah, but you and I both know that there is a drop off, and in this short season, you can't have, you need to be playing at maximum capacity. And when you pull somebody in, especially if it's in the rotation, because now you're, you have to count on these guys. Like I said, you have to count. These starters need to give you 8 wins. Out of the 11 appearances that they're going to have, they need to give you 8 wins. Okay, or bleed. You know what I mean? And that's going to be huge.
Yeah, or your bullpen better be strong enough to help sneak some wins, or steal some wins if your starter doesn't do the job.
And that's where the White Sox are good, are deep, because you have a Michael Kopech who can go in the bullpen. You have a Carlos Rodon who's coming back who can go in the bullpen. You have you can bring Dane Dunning up and see how he does. In addition to the other guys, you have Steve Cishek, and you still have Colomé at the back end. So you have guys. You mentioned the Brewers earlier. That would be a great model to follow. So you guys, you basically, all right, you 2 are tag teams today. You got the first 4, you got the second 4. Okay, you 2 are tag teams today. You got the first 4, you got the second 4 innings. Yep. And Colomé, you get ready. We'll have another 1 or 2, another 1 closer, so you can alternate days, or Colomé 2 games, this guy 2 games. And there's a lot that the White Sox can do because of the plethora of talent that they have, offensively and on the mound. This is a team that, like, I haven't seen. This team is constructed the way I've never seen another team constructed. Most of it was through the draft, and the others were key acquisitions and trades, the Dylan Cease and Eloy Jimenez. But most of the players are through the draft, and we're talking player pitching and hitting. And that, again, my hat's off to you, Rick Hahn. That was one hell of a job you did rebuilding this team. And you told us to wait. You told us what you're doing. We appreciated it. There was a year or 2 that really kind of sucked, but we saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and it wasn't a train. So we're happy about where we're at now, and it's going to be a situation where Sox fans, we're fired up, not just for this year, but for the next 5 to 7 years. Is how fired up we are because of the way that he positioned us as a franchise and as a fan base to move forward in this crazy 2020 season.
Well, yeah, and you're absolutely. I think they're probably the most dangerous team in the AL Central just because of how explosive they can be. With all the young talent that the White Sox have, they could really come out of the gates smoking. As far as the Cubs are concerned, man, like, I think, like, this is a telling year. Like, whatever happens this season, the playoffs is a must. I'll say this: playoffs is a must, because now you're looking down the line at contracts. You're looking at, is this core going to stick together? Is this team going to stick together the way it's already set up? And for me, if they don't make a playoff push or in a deep playoff run, I see things getting shaken up. I really do.
I can see that. I can easily see that. I wouldn't say shaking up too much because you got a first year manager who's going to get some leeway. They're going to give him some slack. But I hope, and I know I give you and all my other Cub fan friends a lot of slack all the time. We talk trash, but I hope David Ross does well. I hope he does really, really well. I hope, the biggest reason I like it is because he's bringing back an old school mentality, old school style of coaching that I just enjoy. He's holding people accountable.
Oh, it looks like we lost Shawn again. But yeah, David Ross is holding people accountable. And, with the amount of respect that they give him with the players, Rizzo, Brian, I mean, I know they were they were really good friends when they were playing together. But as far as, the respect that a boss and an employee or a manager and his players, the respect was immediate. And, I feel like that'll flow throughout the season. I feel David Ross is going to put these guys in a position to win. And, getting back to the fundamentals, getting back to a baseball routine and not so much of a relaxed situation like he had with Joe. I mean, Joe was great. Joe got us a World Series title. I'm happy. He was the perfect manager at the perfect time. It was a perfect storm. But then, you look to the last couple of seasons and this relaxed type of mentality wasn't necessarily bringing in victories. So when you go from a guy like Joe Madden to a guy like David Ross, you go from this lax, hey man, everything's chill, to a hey, we got to put in the work to get the job done.
And that's the culture he's setting. He's setting that example. He's trying to establish that culture, and realize you're there for a reason. You're there to play a game. You're making millions of dollars. The least you can do is show up and put in the work necessary to be successful. So,
right.
I have nothing wrong with the way his old school method of coaching. And truth be told, like I said, I hope it works out for the Cubs. I think that, dude, here's a chance for there to be a freaking red line World Series. Here's a chance.
Yeah, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity, Shawn. This is looking at it more and more. This is the perfect opportunity for that to happen. Yep. Because any other year, it's like, all right, it's a little bit of a long shot just because there's so much more games to be played. Things could happen. You know how it gets when this is going to be a normal August. This isn't going to be a normal September. Things are going to get hot really quick. Things are going to have to spike really quick. And if, like you said, if they could keep it rolling, if they get hot at the right time, we could see a red line.
If they come out of the gates, man, that would be the best thing to happen to this baseball season. A Sox Cubs World Series, that would be the best thing. Chicago would be up in arms. It'd be fun. Hey, well, listen, we got to thank our guests. We got to take off, but we got to thank our guest Cam Ellis for calling in, NBC Sports Chicago, for coming on. Thank you, buddy. It was a pleasure having you. We're definitely going to reach out again soon. And then our good friend Scott Merkin from MLB.com. He's a Chicago White Sox beat writer, and he has been for the last 18 years. Scott is always a man dropping dimes, giving us inside info. Good stuff, gentlemen. Made it a great show. Made it really fun and enjoyable to be on and talk with you guys today. Well, listen, as I said, we got to go. So for my co-host, who's now in absentia, Maya Akai, and my Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife himself, Ivan Vargas.
We'll see you guys Friday.
Guys, I'm your boy, the Superback Shawn Sierra. We're back. We're taking a 46-hour break. We'll be back on Friday. Same time, same bad channel, 9 a.m. to 11 Central Standard Time. So until then, got 2 words for you, folks. Superback out.